Hi and welcome. So today I wanted to talk about why focusing on weight loss is not going to help your emotional eating. So if you're new here, welcome. My name is Michelle. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist and emotional eating expert. And I wanted to talk about weight loss and emotional eating because those seem to go hand in hand, at least for the clients that I work with. And even for me personally, when I was on my emotional eating journey, I started off with wanting to control my body, control my weight. And I didn't realize there was emotional eating and all of these other things under the surface. And I would do the typical things like diet and exercise and use a lot of willpower, but I wasn't really addressing what was going on under the surface. And so when I share with clients and in my seminar is that weight is a symptom. It's not the problem. And when we start focusing on a symptom, we're not looking at the root causes of why we have this symptom. And so, marketing is very interesting because we all see, yes, I want to lose the weight. And we don't even understand we have a symptom. We just think this is our issue. So I want to shed some light on that. And, it's not to say that you can never lose weight. But when you really start looking at the root causes of it, you're going to have sustainable change. You're going to eventually be able to release weight. But the way I approach this with clients is different than what I see out there. And I'm going to share a bit why it's different and important to sort of set the foundation before we are more actively losing weight, especially for emotional eating, because we have other issues going on under the surface. It's not just simply we make poor food choices or we just, don't work out and, we just need to get back on track. It's deeper issues going on under the surface. And so, it's a lot of other things going on under the surface. And to sort of sum up all of these underlying things going on under the surface for emotional eaters, they all amount to some kind of stress. So stress is the hormone cortisol. We release cortisol whenever we're under stress. And so stress starts interacting with our other hormones in our body, but stress in and of itself, if we're chronically stressed, which a lot of my clients are, when you're emotional eaters, you're under emotional stress. You can be physical, mental stress, and I'll sort of dive into that. Stress actually makes our body hold on to water and excess weight. We'll start gaining in the areas we don't want to. And it's not about necessarily what you're eating, although that's part of the solution, or how much you're moving, although that's part of the solution. It goes deeper. And so stress is not just we have emotional stress, we can have a physical stress. So from the foods we're eating, mental stress, the way we talk to ourselves, and of course the emotional stress, which a lot of emotional eaters have and we use food to soothe with, is sort of that stress that is holding in those emotions. And so I'm going to dive into the way I look at the stressors that are happening and why we need to get to these roots to really resolve our emotional eating. And the weight loss is a byproduct. But I'm going to just preface this by saying the first thing we need to understand, because we've been on usually emotional eaters, and I was this way myself, my clients are this way. We've been trying so many diets and so many different ways of saying we should eat this and we deprive ourselves and we're really restrictive, that we've sort of put our body in this yo-yo dieting cycle, which is really abusive to our bodies. And along with when we emotionally eat, we're eating when our body's not ready to have food. So that's digestive stress. So we're abusing our bodies on multiple levels, not out of wanting to abuse our bodies. We're unaware of it, but that is what's happening. And our body has been really depleted. And so the first level really is to nourish our body. We want to be nourishing our body on all levels so that we get to this place where the body feels good enough, safe enough to start releasing excess weight. And it has enough nutrients to release that weight in a sustainable way. It's not forcing or pushing and really pushing ourselves into this really depleted state to lose weight only to have it be regained. We want it to be more gentle because that's actually what's going to sustain it for us. So I'm going to share with you the areas that are important to look at to start reducing this overall stress. So they follow the phases in my program, the Emotional Eating Evolution Program, because this is the methodology, the step-by-step way that we start bringing you back to your body and resolving emotional eating so that, your body gets to its healthy. And so the first area is true nourishment and strategic digestion. This is so important because when we're dieting and we're following someone else's external idea of when we should eat, we are not listening to our bodies. We're really restrictive with our bodies and we start becoming really obsessed with food. So this puts stress on our bodies physically. It's psychological, but it's also physical stress because we're depriving ourselves of enough nutrients or enough calories. And so when we do that, there is physical stress on our body. And so our brain tends to be on the hunt for calories. And so that becomes a type of mental stress as well. And because these diets are so restrictive, we tend to go back into our binge eating cycles. This creates more binge eating. And so that can also lead to emotional eating. So I always say sort of binge eating can be emotional, but sometimes when we're on a diet and we binge eat, we might not have been nourishing ourselves enough throughout the day. And so our body is just so depleted. It is just, I need to eat right now. Of course, you need to check in if you're truly versus emotionally hungry. But what these diets can do when we eat, let's say we become emotional after we've binged, we feel shame and guilt, and that drives us to more emotional eating. We're usually choosing foods that are not of good quality, they're more processed, and we're eating when we're not physically ready to digest food. So that creates digestive stress. So you can already see just from diets, all these different stressors we're creating. And stress, whether it's physical, mental, or emotional, it converts to cortisol. It is going to become physical in our body and show itself. And so we remove that stress by learning to truly nourish our bodies and to be really strategic about our digestion. So this means we're looking at true versus emotional hunger. We are eating when we are hungry and we're nourishing our bodies and we're eating in a really strategic way that is, it's strategic digestively so that we're absorbing all the nutrients. This helps us to really nourish our body on a deeper cellular level. When we eat something, if we don't digest it, absorb, and assimilate it, we're not getting those nutrients in. So digestion is really important. And after so many years of, sort of abusing our bodies or not knowing when to eat, our digestion can be really off. That's what I found for a lot of emotional eaters. And our digestion can be off because when we're under a lot of stress, that impacts digestion as well. It's sort of this cycle. The second area that is important with the stress is with body acceptance. So what I've seen and what I experienced myself as an emotional eater, I was really hard on myself. I was really critical. I punished myself. I thought if I looked a certain way, then I'd get the validation I wanted. And I didn't really care to listen to my body or know what I needed in order to take care of my body or understand its energy levels or its rhythms or the rituals it needed. Or I didn't even have basic just body acceptance so I could appreciate my body. And so because I was so critical and punishing, I would go to the gym and that's mental stress. You're punishing yourself because you never feel good enough, but then you're physically punishing your body, and exercise creates stress. And, it's not to say all stress is bad, but when we're in already this mental stressful state and we're using exercise, we're punishing ourselves on top of it. So it compounds. And so we need to sort of pull back and see, what is the activity level that's going to be nourishing to our body? How can we find rituals that are going to nourish our body? How are we in a state of acceptance of our body so we're no longer in that punishing, critical mental space? And when we sort of calm all of those down and release that stress, our body is better able again to release weight. But we need to find our way there. And this is, a relearning for sure. And so this is why when we start nourishing our body and body acceptance doesn't mean we stay there. It's the first step to transformation. Then we can really check inside and allow our bodies to find they're, are healthy. What I say is like my body's healthy sweet spot. And so the third area that is important to really help to release the stress is with our emotions. And the third phase of my program is emotional wellness. So emotions create stress in our body. When we're automatically in an emotional state, we create chemicals in our body. So we think of serotonin as that happy, neurotransmitter, or cortisol as stress. So we're creating that. When we're in these stressful states, these emotionally stressful states, we're creating stress in our body. And if we don't know how to move out of that, we actually hold that stress in. We hold those emotions in. All those chemicals, those compounds, they sit in our body. Emotions are meant to be felt and processed and allowed to sort of run their reaction in our body. I like to think it is a reaction, a chemical reaction in our body, and we need the reaction to go to completion. But when we don't and we hold it in because we don't know how to process those emotions, and this is a big thing for emotional eaters because that's why we emotionally eat. We don't know how to be with our emotions. We were never taught to feel safe in processing emotions. Our parents or caregivers didn't regulate us when we were emotional. They probably shamed us, or we saw that they emotionally ate to take care of emotions. Our society shows us this. It's not a healthy space to be in. We are really behind on how we deal with emotions as a society. And so most of us wouldn't have had this safe space or know how to feel safe with our emotions. So we go to food to soothe ourselves, to cover the emotions, to sort of distract ourselves. And the emotion is sort of lingering there. And so that creates stress in our body. And that stress translates into the weight gain. If you think back to how I mentioned cortisol just makes our body hold on to weight. It interrupts other hormones, etc. And so we need to really learn to release that stress, how to be with our emotions, process them, resolve them, and move forward powerfully. Just talking about them can create more stress. It's sort of like you kick up the sand in a pool when we go to conventional talk therapy, but we're not doing something with that. We just let the dust settle, but it's always there. We want to really remove that, almost like if we're in a pool and we cleaned it out. We want to really get to the root and clean it out so that we feel we're clear and we're no longer having that stress, and we learn the tools of how to be with our emotions so it no longer is this ongoing issue where we're constantly going to food to soothe ourselves. We know how to actually be and process and move through these emotions. And that can be through modeling. So that's what I do with clients privately, model that, guide them through the process. And they also have meditations to move through it. So they always have tools to move through this. And so these three key areas, they are impactful for weight loss, even though the direct aim is not about weight loss. It's about removing the stressors so that our body can come back to this calm state. And in this calm state, it will release what it doesn't need. We hold on because of stress and we contract and our body won't let go. And so when we're able to release that, we will release the weight. But we're also healing our emotional eating in the process. And my program is not about weight loss because it's really about creating this foundation, and the byproduct can be releasing weight as you move through it. And it just really depends on how much nourishment your body needs to get to that space to release what it needs to release. And so that was my journey as well. I didn't instantly lose weight. It wasn't my goal anymore. I just wanted to feel good. And then eventually my body found its new healthy, which was losing some weight. And that wasn't my goal. I was happy, maybe not happy, but I was in a space of acceptance. If I needed to gain or lose or stay the same, it didn't matter. I just wanted to feel good and resolve this. And so if what I'm saying is resonating with you and you're looking for that deeper support, you want to dive deeper and really get to the root cause of your emotional eating so that you can finally feel confident in your body and around food and not just keep slapping Band-Aids on top of it, then I'd love to invite you to book in an emotional eating assessment call. And there we can see where you're at and where you want to go and if the program can fill the gap for you. I would love to invite you to that if it's resonating. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know below, and please be sure to like and subscribe. I look forward to sharing more with you, and I hope you have a great day.